Not every motorcycle legend survives the road ahead. Some vanish quietly, others crash spectacularly. And what you'll see here will leave you questioning which brands will still be standing tomorrow. Stay until the very last name, because it could be one you never imagined losing. Number 7. Victory Motorcycles. There was a time when a certain American motorcycle brand came roaring out of the late 1990s with the swagger to challenge the old guard. Backed by Polaris Industries, Victory carried itself like it was born to rewrite the rules of the open road. Riders saw something fresh yet unmistakably American, a bold alternative that didn't just chase trends but carved its own style. In its prime, this brand produced machines that married modern engineering with classic V-twin appeal, aiming straight at the heart of Harley-Davidson's dominance. With their flagship touring and cruiser models, Victory bikes often packed engines measuring 1,731 cubic centimeters, delivering around 106 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. Dual disc brakes with 4 piston calipers up front and a large single disc in the rear provided confident stopping power. Many models used an inverted telescopic fork in the front and a single rear shock for stability, while wet weights hovered near 850 pounds. Seat heights averaged about 26.5 inches, offering a grounded riding stance, and starting prices came in around $16,000. But what made Victory different wasn't just the numbers on a spec sheet. These motorcycles had a presence on the pavement, wide handlebars for leverage, low-slung silhouettes that looked ready to pounce, and fairings that cut the wind without muting the road. The ride was firm but forgiving, giving long-distance comfort without dulling the connection to the asphalt. For older riders looking for torque-rich performance without the heritage tax of other brands, this was the American alternative that made sense. It was modern without feeling imported, muscular without being flashy, and dependable without feeling generic. Unfortunately, even a strong foundation can sink if the market tide turns. Despite loyal owners and steady praise for reliability, Victory faced an uphill battle against a brand-loyal cruiser market and the shadow of its own sister company, Indian Motorcycles, which Polaris had acquired. Dealers found themselves splitting focus, and the spotlight shifted. In 2017, Polaris officially announced the end of Victory production. For some riders, it felt like losing a trusted riding partner. For others, it was simply a reminder that business decisions can trump even the best engineering. Today, Victory motorcycles still command respect on the used market. Their engines have a reputation for running strong well past high mileage, and their styling still looks current years after the line went dark. Many owners keep them on the road with pride, knowing they ride something rare that won't be parked next to 5 identical bikes at the local diner. Parts are still available through aftermarket suppliers and online forums, and the community around the brand remains tight-knit. From an industry perspective, the fall of Victory is a lesson in how even well-built machines can be sidelined when strategy shifts. It proves that building a great motorcycle is only part of the battle. Survival depends on market space, brand clarity, and timing. The next chapter on our list shows that when heritage and innovation pull in opposite directions, even a beloved nameplate can find itself at a crossroads. If you're enjoying this ride through motorcycle history, hit that like button and drop a comment below with your favorite brand from the list so far. Your feedback fuels future videos, and we'd love to hear your stories. Stick around. There's more history, engineering, and legacy waiting in the next chapters. Number 6. Bule Motorcycles. Bule Motorcycles built its reputation on doing things differently, creating American sport bikes with engineering quirks that set them apart from anything else on the road. Compact frames, forward-thinking design choices, and a focus on real-world performance gave Bule a dedicated following among riders who wanted more than just straight-line speed. Bule machines often carried an 1,125 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin, producing 146 horsepower and 82 pound-feet of torque for a muscular yet manageable power delivery. Many riders praised the engine's responsiveness, noting how it pulled hard from mid-range without feeling unruly in traffic. A signature oversized perimeter front disc with an 8-piston caliper worked alongside a single rear disc to deliver strong, confident braking while keeping unsprung weight low. Fully adjustable inverted front forks paired with a direct-mounted rear monoshock gave these bikes sharp, precise handling that encouraged spirited cornering. As one longtime owner recalled, it felt like it wanted to turn before I even moved the bars. Dry weight stayed close to 375 pounds, making the bikes feel light on their feet despite their aggressive stance. Seat heights averaged about 31.5 inches, and starting prices began around $12,499, positioning Bule firmly among high-performance machines that still appealed to everyday riders. On the road, Bule's delivered a raw, connected riding experience. The mass centralized layout, fuel in the frame, oil in the swing arm, gave them a low center of gravity that encouraged quick transitions and steady cornering. The torque-rich V-twin paired with short gearing made them feel alive in everyday riding conditions, not just at triple-digit speeds on the track. Yet, for all their engineering creativity, Bule models weren't without challenges. Some owners praised their unique handling, but admitted parts availability could be tricky after Harley-Davidson, Bule's parent company at the time, shut down operations in 2009. Others noted that the unconventional design required a bit of adaptation. What felt intuitive to one rider could feel awkward to another. Today, surviving Bules have a cult-like status. Enthusiasts keep them alive with aftermarket support, online communities, and a shared appreciation for a brand that refused to follow the conventional sport bike formula. For riders who want something distinctly American in a category dominated by imports, Bule remains a name spoken with both respect and nostalgia. These bikes may be gone, but the rides continue. In the description, I've linked the gloves, jackets, and accessories that keep me ready for the road. Number 5. Indian Motorcycles. Before Polaris took the reins, Indian Motorcycles carried a legacy steeped in early American riding history, but struggled to maintain a steady foothold in the modern market. The pre-Polaris years were marked by ambitious designs and nostalgia-driven styling that aimed to recapture the magic of the brand's golden age. Deep valanced fenders, flowing lines, and ornate badging ensured these bikes looked unmistakably Indian, even when parked silently at the curb. Many late pre-Polaris models carried 1,634 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twins, producing around 70 horsepower and 95 pound-feet of torque. Dual front disc with 4-piston calipers worked alongside a single rear disc, with a basic anti-lock braking system providing added reassurance on wet or unpredictable roads. Comfort was a priority, with most examples using a conventional front fork and twin rear shocks that delivered a steady, predictable ride. Wet weights often hovered near 780 pounds, while seat heights averaged about 26 inches for a planted stance at stops. Starting prices in that era began near $24,000, positioning these machines squarely in the premium cruiser category and making them direct rivals to Harley-Davidson's top offerings. Yet the real story came from the saddle. Owners often spoke of a relaxed but commanding feel, broad chrome surfaces catching the sun, sweeping fenders framing the wheels with timeless elegance, and an upright riding position that made long hours effortless. Many praised their highway stability, noting how they stayed composed even in crosswinds. One longtime rider recalled, "It just thumped along all day, never asked for much, and never let me down." That dependable nature, paired with torque-rich cruising power, made them a genuine favorite for riders who valued tradition and comfort over chasing fleeting trends. On the open road, these pre-Polaris Indians delivered a relaxed, old-school touring experience. The broad seats, generous handlebars, and sweeping floorboards encouraged a laid-back posture, perfect for rolling through small towns or stretching out on a highway straightaway. The rumble of the V-twin carried a deep, classic note, more about presence and heritage than raw acceleration. However, the charm of the brand's styling often outshone its performance credentials. Owners who loved their bikes for the look sometimes admitted they didn't always match the refinement or reliability of their competition. One rider recalled, "Every time I stopped for gas, someone wanted to talk about it. But I spent almost as much time in the shop as I did on the road. Parts availability could be inconsistent, and dealer networks were limited, making long-term ownership more of a commitment than a convenience. Even so, there's a certain pride among those who keep pre-Polaris Indians on the road today. For them, riding one isn't just about transportation, it's about preserving a piece of American motorcycling history. The designs still turn heads, and the stories tied to the brand's resilience only add to its mystique. Looking back, the pre-Polaris era serves as a reminder of how a storied name can endure through cycles of reinvention. While these machines may not have had the engineering polish that would come later under Polaris ownership, they carried a sense of identity that spoke directly to riders who valued heritage over the latest spec sheet. Number 4. Triumph Motorcycles. Some brands are born from heritage, but Triumph was forged in it. Before its rebirth in the 1990s, the name carried decades of racing glory, cultural cachet, and mechanical charm that made it an icon on both sides of the Atlantic. Park a pre-revival Triumph in front of a diner, and it was more than just a motorcycle. It was a symbol of British motorcycling history. Under the iconic tank badge, late pre-revival models like the Bonneville T140 carried a 749 cubic centimeter air-cooled parallel twin, producing about 46 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. Stopping came from a single front disc with a 2-piston caliper, paired with a rear drum or disc depending on the year, without anti-lock braking assistance. Riders valued its approachable handling from the conventional front fork and twin rear shocks, paired with a wet weight near 450 pounds and a 31-inch seat height. Many praised its honest feel, simple to maintain, mechanically transparent, and affordably priced around $4,500, offering classic style without premium cost. On the road, these machines carried themselves with a mix of charm and grit. The exhaust note was crisp yet mellow, the seating posture upright and comfortable for long stretches, and the throttle response more about character than brute force. They weren't about blistering top speeds, they were about the satisfaction of a perfectly timed shift and the feel of the road humming beneath you. Still, as the 1980s rolled on, Triumph struggled to keep pace with Japanese manufacturers who were rapidly innovating in power, reliability, and technology. Stories from the time recall owners spending weekends in the garage sorting electrical gremlins or fine-tuning carburetors just to keep the bike happy. When it ran right, it was magic, one longtime rider said, but it demanded a relationship, not just ownership. The company's Meriden factory became the center of a famous worker cooperative in the 70s, fighting to keep the brand alive amid economic downturns and shifting tastes in motorcycles. But as demand for modern, low-maintenance bikes surged, Triumph's reliance on aging designs and limited R&D investment left it increasingly vulnerable. By the late 1980s, financial strain made survival uncertain, and the once proud British icon was teetering on the edge. Today, those pre-revival Triumphs hold a special place in collector circles and among riders who value the quirks as much as the ride. Their classic lines, wire-spoke wheels, and timeless paint schemes still turn heads at vintage rallies. For many, they're not just machines, they're rolling history lessons, reminders of a time when personality sometimes mattered more than perfection. The fall and eventual rebirth of Triumph show that even the most storied names can find themselves on the brink, only to rise again. And as the countdown continues, the next brand on our list proves that sometimes a bold new vision isn't enough to outrun the weight of the past. Number 3. Husqvarna Motorcycles. Known for its distinctive Swedish roots and purposeful styling, Husqvarna in the pre-KTM era carried an air of off-road credibility that few brands could match. Slim bodywork, bold graphics, and a no-nonsense approach to design made these machines instantly recognizable, whether lined up at a motocross gate or parked outside a dusty trailhead. Many of the final pre-KTM four-stroke enduro machines carried 510 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled single-cylinder engines, producing roughly 52 horsepower and 39 pound-feet of torque. Braking came from a single large diameter front disc with a twin piston caliper and a single rear disc with a single piston caliper, connected by steel braided lines for a precise lever feel. Lightweight construction was another key to their appeal, with wet weights hovering near 248 pounds and seat heights around 37.4 inches, offering excellent ground clearance for technical terrain. Starting prices were around $8,100, placing them in line with other premium European off-road machines. Riders often praise their nimble, almost instinctive handling in tight woods, with one owner noting it felt like the bike knew where I wanted to go before I did. In motion, these Huskies felt like precision tools, sharp, direct, and unapologetically focused on performance. The power delivery was linear but strong, pulling riders through deep sand, rocky climbs, and wooded single track with minimal drama. They were not designed for comfort or casual cruising. They existed to go fast in the dirt and reward skillful riders who could harness their potential. That focus, however, also became a double-edged sword. Reports from owners often highlighted the meticulous maintenance schedule and the need for mechanical know-how. One seasoned enduro rider recalled, "It would take me anywhere, but I always carried a toolkit because it liked attention." Compared to Japanese rivals that emphasized reliability over razor-sharp handling, pre-KTM Huskies sometimes felt more like race bikes with license plates than everyday machines. The brand's identity at the time was closely tied to its racing heritage, with countless victories in motocross, enduro, and desert events cementing its reputation among enthusiasts. Yet as the global motorcycle market shifted toward broader appeal and lower running cost, Husqvarna's narrow focus left it vulnerable. Without a major partner to bolster development and expand its dealer network, the company's future grew uncertain. When KTM eventually stepped in, it marked the end of an era. The acquisition brought fresh investment, updated technology, and broader model ranges, but also a departure from the uniquely Swedish engineering quirks that had defined the brand for decades. Today, pre-KTM Husqvarnas hold a special appeal for riders who value that raw, unfiltered off-road experience. They represent a time when a motorcycle could be purpose-built without compromise, even if it meant demanding more from its rider. And as our list narrows, the next brand proves that even bold innovation can't always outrun shifting market tides. Number 2. LVDA. There was a time when the LVDA name carried serious weight among riders who craved European muscle with a racing pedigree. Through the 1970s and early 1980s, the brand's big triples turned heads on both sides of the Atlantic. But as the years rolled on, its shine faded and the fight to stay relevant grew harder. Its flagship 1,000 cubic centimeter triple-cylinder engines of the era pushed out around 80 horsepower and 65 pound-feet of torque. Impressive for the time. Braking was handled by dual front discs and a single rear disc, all operated without the benefit of modern anti-lock braking systems. While it could deliver strong performance in skilled hands, refinement often lagged behind Japanese competition. Part of the appeal was the way these machines looked and felt. The long tanks, bold colors, and purposeful stances made them stand out in an era crowded with similar silhouettes. Many riders were drawn in by the sense of exclusivity and the mechanical charisma that only a hand-built Italian machine could offer. It felt alive in a way nothing else did, one former owner recalled, but it demanded your full attention every second. That passion came with trade-offs: vibration at highway speeds, heavy clutch pulls, and ergonomics that could wear a rider down on long hauls. Suspension setups typically included a conventional telescopic fork up front and twin shocks at the rear, tuned more for spirited cornering than all-day comfort. Depending on the model, wet weights hovered around 525 pounds, with seat heights in the 31-inch range. New prices in their prime could climb past $6,000, a serious sum when rivals undercut them while offering more reliability. In the right conditions, a LVDA could be thrilling. The power delivery was raw, the handling responsive, and the soundtrack unforgettable thanks to that distinctive triple-cylinder growl. But these bikes weren't forgiving. They needed regular maintenance, careful tuning, and a rider willing to accept quirks as part of the deal. For some, that was part of the charm. For others, it was a barrier to ownership. As the 1980s gave way to the 90s, Japanese manufacturers dominated with lighter, faster, and cheaper machines that started every time and asked for little in return. LVDA's limited production capacity and small dealer network couldn't compete on scale or convenience. Even loyal fans began to drift toward brands that promised similar thrills with fewer compromises. By the late 1990s, revival attempts brought fresh models with modern styling and updated engineering, but the market had moved on. Eventually, LVDA slipped quietly into history, remembered fondly by enthusiasts but rarely seen on the open road. Today, surviving examples are prized by collectors who appreciate their rarity and old-school charm. But for most riders, a LVDA is more a labor of love than a practical daily companion. The name still stirs passion, but the next and final brand on our list shows how even an ambitious American comeback story can end in silence. If you've made it this far, you're clearly as passionate about motorcycles as we are. Subscribe now and join our community of riders who appreciate the machines, the history, and the lifestyle. We release new videos packed with insights and stories every week, and you won't want to miss the next one. Number 1. Excelsior Henderson. For a brief moment at the turn of the millennium, Excelsior Henderson looked ready to bring a long-lost American name back to life. With deep historical roots stretching back to the early 1900s, the revival carried the weight of legacy and the promise of an alternative in a Harley-dominated market. The styling was unmistakably classic, but with modern engineering tucked underneath. In its debut form, the 1,388 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin produced roughly 61 horsepower and 65 pound-feet of torque, giving it steady, unhurried power delivery suited to long cruises. Dual large front discs with 4-piston calipers and a single rear disc provided dependable braking, though no anti-lock braking system was offered at the time. One early owner recalled, "It had all the stopping power I needed, but you had to know how to use it." For a heavyweight cruiser tipping the scales at 765 pounds with a 27.5-inch seat height, it carried a confident, planted stance that inspired trust on open highways. Pricing started at $18,500, which some riders praised as fair for its presence and build quality, while others saw it as a stretch for a newcomer competing against entrenched American and Japanese brands. The frame was designed for classic cruiser comfort, with floorboards, wide pullback handlebars, and a deeply padded saddle. The overall feel aimed to strike a balance between long-haul stability and the easygoing character riders expected from an American V-twin. Fit and finish impressed many first-time viewers, from the deep chrome accents to the distinctive sculpted fenders that paid homage to the brand's original designs. Rider impressions varied. Some praised the smooth low-end torque and steady highway manners, noting that it was a capable mile-eater once you settled in. Others, however, pointed to quirks that came with being an all-new production effort. Occasional electrical gremlins, inconsistent build quality, and a dealer network too thin to offer the support buyers needed. It looked the part, one owner recalled, but finding service was harder than finding an open road in rush hour. The biggest challenge wasn't the bike itself, but the timing. Launching in the late 1990s meant going head-to-head with Harley-Davidson during one of its strongest sales decades, while Victory, another American challenger, was already backed by the deep pockets and infrastructure of Polaris. Excelsior Henderson's small scale made it hard to compete on price, marketing reach, or nationwide availability. By 2000, the company faced mounting financial strain. Production slowed, investor confidence wavered, and the ambitious rebirth came to an abrupt halt after only a short run of completed motorcycles. Owners were left with rare machines that would never see a second generation. The shutdown was a blow not just to the brand, but to riders who wanted to see a true third pillar in American heavyweight cruisers. Today, surviving Excelsior Henderson bikes are something of a collector's curiosity. Too rare to be common, yet too recent to be fully vintage. For those who own them, they're a symbol of what could have been, a bold attempt to revive an American legend that simply ran out of road. And with that, our list comes to a close. A reminder that in the motorcycle world, even the loudest engines can be silenced if the business behind them falters. Before you click away, think about what we've just covered. Names that once ruled the roads, now gone, proving no brand is untouchable. If these legends can vanish, what happens when the next one on the list is the bike you ride today? That's why I want you in this community. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the stories, insights, and warnings that every rider needs to hear. Drop a comment with the brand that shocked you most and share this with a fellow rider. The more we know, the better we can protect the machines we love.